right. So let's see. I took a look at the working doc for our team working agreement, and I'd like to review that at some point, maybe during or some other time from this retrospective. It's good. There's some things I want to point out about the way that I've done, team programming or teamwork. I've really enjoyed all of our sessions when we first started, and everybody was sharing their ideas about the ethics of AI work, and this was very beneficial to me. As far as our working sessions go, I don't know if I've been able. I can't really contribute much, I don't think, but I've been enjoying attending those. I'm really big on the what's going well side of things, and really using that in retrospectives, where we gather, what went well and how can we get more of that, which I call turn up the good. Doesn't mean that's what we should do here or what we need to do when we're doing these things. But there's a few things that have been puzzling me, and I'm glad that that I've been invited to be part of this. But I also feel that there's things, as far as the goal here of providing services isn't something I originally thought this group was going to be about. So that's something I need to learn more about and understand where's my place in that, if there is a place, and that sort of thing. So there you go. I've just laid out, where I'm at pretty much.
Thanks, Woody.
I'll put myself on mute.
Thank you.
Ooh, I'm getting it.
Anyone else want to talk about what you feel is working well for us?
I think it's interesting to see, obviously you guys, your background, it's pedigreed in, their key areas, which I think need to be paired with, up and coming AI building, because it lends credibility, and it just sees, how AI and people from various, science backgrounds, programming backgrounds, it's interesting to see what's going to come out the other side. So, I'm generally pretty happy to go with the flow and, see what happens. I'm never short of crazy ideas. If they sound crazy but work, they're not crazy. So I can happy to suggest things, but generally I'll be following your lead, as for where this is going, Alex. So yeah.
Thanks, Simon. Ludger? You're on mute.
Thank you. What I like is this openness, so that everybody can put his or her expertise in, and with possibilities that this guild offers because of the approach. And I like our exchange of knowledge and experiences. And I like the session with a GitHub, where we, with co-creation or co-practicing in the mob, adding our accounts and so on. So this I really like.
I don't know if Nenad can talk because he's didn't join us. So I'll just say I'm amazed at the level of professionalism. People who stayed with the guild. Obviously, you're sacrificing some of your professional time, your family time, your hobbies to be there. So that's a very impressive dedication. I did not expect that much of a traction, although people come and it's weaving in and out, and that's how it is. And we agree that there's no reason for anyone to explain why can't they join or why they're leaving sooner, etc. That's just fine. But for me, it's just this camaraderie and this shared mindset that we need to cultivate. Our I call it trade. I think we are in a trade. I don't want to say profession means, so this is a trade, right? And we all like to do things around this software and AI, etc. So I think My initial, when I talked to Woody originally back in January, I believe, for some reason, software doesn't have. I was actually curious. Why don't we have a guild, like a body of passionate professionals who are, establishing and upholding certain level of professionalism and ethics? That's why I thought it's going to be beneficial, hopefully, for some people to have this guild, to bounce ideas off. And, we've been going up and down, which is to be expected, especially now when this whole AI shebang is just completely unpredictable. Can you guys hear me? Oh, no. Yeah, okay, sorry. So basically, I think that's a positive side. I don't know if Nana can join and talk. If not, let's move to what we think could be improved. Anyone?
Did Leonard get the link?
I don't know. Nana disappeared and probably had some technical difficulties. Oh, there. Okay, so let's maybe move to what we think could be improved. As Woody said, let's crank up the positive and be gentle on the negative. You're on mute, Woody, if you're talking.
I would really love to see us do some actual assessment activity, to see, so I can learn what that's like. In our working agreement, we do talk about how we'll try every idea. Hey there, how we doing?
Hey, Woody. Hi, Alex.
And we talk about, in there, how we'll go about doing things. And one of the things that's really fundamental to me is that we try every idea. So a lot of times we want to speed ahead, but often the way we learn best is when we actually try things that we know won't work, because that'll often surprise us. Try things that someone else says, I already did that. And it turns out that they didn't understand what we were proposing. And I found the only way to really understand what somebody is proposing is to try it. And then it becomes really clear what we meant by what we said. This is one of the things I think has been critical in my working with teams, is that people jump to an understanding. They believe they're understanding when they're not. I've seen this particularly with senior people who think they have a full understanding of what the picture is, when theirs is often the most distorted view, because it's the old beginner's mind versus the expert's mind, or whatever. It's like in the expert's mind there's just a few solutions. In the beginner's mind, it's wide open. That's a Zen thing, beginner's mind. So anyways, I find that we learn best if we try every experiment that pops forward. And the way that we would do it, in my original serious experiments in doing this, was to use the most junior person's idea first, because that usually will expand our thinking quite a bit more. And I have seen with a lot of times a senior person will say, oh, that's what you meant. When they had made a judgment about what they thought they heard. And in this particular case, in our group here, there's a lot that I don't understand. And I'm going to need to, learn what we mean by the documents we're writing and the outline of the analysis and how we're going to go about doing those things. So I think that by doing it is where I will learn, if I'm going to learn at all. I'm clearly the oldest. I'm the oldest person here. And so I'm the most likely to be trapped in my previous thinking.
But you're young at heart, right?
Yeah, that's probably true. I'll accept that.
Yeah. Thanks, Woody. Totally agree. It's what you're talking about is a challenge because it is very unusual to give the reins to the inexperienced and then feel the pressure, like no, and I'm often like that. No, you're wrong, and instead of just like, okay, let it flow, let it, like you say, let's see where this resurfaces. So that's something to be taken seriously to our hearts, and let's try that. Let's try with the stupidest idea and just not jump in and block and just say, sure, okay, let's see how far we get with the obviously can't work.
I've seen that that's where the can't work option actually ends up working.
Yeah.
So it's like we will jump to skip to the on our understanding. We can't. Or we. I'm suggesting we get benefit from not doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. I just want to, if you don't mind, just pull back to Jake because he joined recently. Jake, before you joined, we were talking about, this is a retrospective, so we're kind of looking back at the months we spent here and in and out. You were a very significant part of our group. I just want to hear your thoughts, if you don't mind. What you felt was working up until now good for us? That's something you would like to continue doing.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. Shit. Am I getting feedback on you all?
No,
I guess when you are unmuted, then there comes a feedback from maybe.
Everyone must mute. Everyone must mute.
Okay. Here we go. Can you all hear me better here? Okay, cool. All right, sorry. I was getting some major feedback, but first off, thanks for having me back, guys. And I've been busy as hell. Getting close to having my other, god damn it. All right. Hold on. Pause. So, but something that really struck me from the get-go the entire time with the guild and everything was 99% of everybody was in the game for the right reasons. It was a group thing. People left their egos and wanted to help, get to the overall goal. And that's like Woody was saying, you can get blinded so easily when the human brain is wild like that. I just had it do it to me over this weekend. The human brain's going to see whatever the hell it wants to see, and you got to depend on other people, or you got to depend on just pure determination to fight through it. But it's so much easier when you have a team to be able to rely on that you can trust. And we had that, I do believe, and being able to build on that and build on that trust, of everybody having the same goals was just really, it was refreshing and something that showed me that we really were establishing something, that Alex really had an idea, that we really were working towards something. And so, it was, that would be, if out of anything, that would be what I would want, moving forward, because y'all have more knowledge about computer science and everything. I am what Woody was saying. I am that outsider that doesn't, I don't know, this or that or the other, but I can intuit it, but that doesn't necessarily translate. But then I depend on you all to be able to translate it into whatever, and it's symbiotic. And that's how you got to look at it. Nobody's better than anybody else, because we're all the same, going for the same thing. And so, and I've truly felt that we had that, and I think we still have that. And I say, if everybody keeps that mindset, then we're going to have some fun. We're going to be able to have a chance to make some difference and make some real software or just make a difference in how people understand how to work with this stuff. So that'd be what my main idea would be, Alex, and everybody else.
Thanks, Jake. Excellent. Yeah, it's very beautifully said. I'm impressed with what you said. Now that we have you on the microphone, can you please talk about what you think could be improved? Where do you see areas of improvement?
Well, I've been trying to see. I broke my iPad, and so that's why I hadn't been on the Discord or everything. And plus, I've been doing a lot of the other stuff. I think the one thing that I would say out of anything is reduce the tentativeness. People still, lack of a better term, people still pussyfoot around with each other. And if you have a problem, just get it out into the open. Don't let it build and build and build. If you got something, say it. We're all a bunch of grown people around here. You're not going to hurt my feelings. And if I do get my feelings hurt, then I deserve to have them hurt because I was obviously acting out of line. But you're going to have, surface the tension early. Don't let it build. Just say it. The truth, like I say, the truth will always come out in the end. So the longer you hold on to it, the more it's just becoming a volcano, and then it's going to blow up. And it's going to end up in a goofy situation where you burn bridges and shit. When that's not what needed to happen at all, because the whole thing about 99% of the time people's issues weren't that big to begin with, but they just held on to it. And then by the time they lost it, by the time they lose their cool, they're pissed off because they think you kicked their dog, and it's like, man, I ain't even met your dog, that type of thing. So they're mad about being mad. Whereas if you get it out and you surface it, that would be my main, what I visualized or what I saw is people talking behind other people's back. Oh, this is blah, 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 blah. And, it's like, man, first off, grow up, and then second off, why don't you go tell them that? I'm not a big fan of people, if you got a problem with me, just come talk to me. Let's talk. Let's figure it out. Don't sit there because most of the time, like Wood said, it's about misunderstanding. It's all about, if somebody thinks something about somebody else, it's usually a misunderstanding, or like me coming in here 15 minutes late, all of a sudden I come in here like blah, 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 blah. Well, I missed the first 15 minutes, so I don't know really the context. People so often jump off of information that they don't have the correct context of, and they just issue their opinion that has nothing to do with the actual meaning. And they want to blame everybody else when it's actually on them for not taking not being present or not wanting to understand the context. So many people just, do yourself a favor, view everything from the eyes of everybody else. Don't look at things from, when you think you have an issue, do yourself a favor and step back and look at it from outside of yourself at the issue. Look at the real issue, not as you see it, but as somebody else might see it, and you're going to see a whole different vision. And you might be able to come around and actually, if you're brave enough and you can look in a mirror, you might actually realize that it's kind of on you instead of on everybody else. Most of not saying anything about nothing, but in my experience, most of the time, I can look at myself and say, yeah, you need to shut the fuck up, type thing, and understand, work with people. Don't open doors, don't shut them. That's what I would think.
Thanks, Jake. So it reminds me of one of those. I was watching this stand-up comedian, and he says, I spent the whole afternoon looking for the foul smell in my apartment. I was looking everywhere. Turns out it was me. Okay. So I think that this is good, what you brought up. I think what I believe this will be largely resolved with following Woody's suggestion, which is just to work instead of talk, just to work, just jump on something. This is what Woody has been pushing now for a few rounds, but we are still talking. Go into the repo and do the whatever mob, share screens, rotate, make changes. Somebody disagrees. Okay, you take over, take the wheel, you drive. Let's see what you know. Everybody gets a chance instead of saying, "Oh, this is stupid. I don't want to do anything with you guys." Yeah, why don't you jump in and do it your way, and then we'll see. Hey, wait a minute, this actually works or not. But both ways, it's a learning experience, and then the camaraderie rises to the top, I think. And then again, high tides rises all boats. We could be junior, clueless, or genius. At the end of the session, we're kind of all at the same level, which is beautiful. And again, I repeat, I have had experiences in my practice where that bothers some superstars, and they throw a tantrum and leave. Well, sorry, I mean, team is a team. You don't want to be Pelé all the time on the field, right? Or whoever is now the superstar in soccer. Okay, sorry. Who is next? Wants to talk about what can be improved? Ludger, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all the sharings. So what I experienced, sometimes I felt a bit lost in the meetings. So I don't know the agenda before, or for example, last week I thought we talking about the strategy and the working agreement and so on. Then we got into this rubrics. So for me, it would be more comfortable or more, let's say, efficient to read through the rubrics and get a kind of understanding, getting a bit of context from scientific stuff. So I agree with Woody to try this out as a big value and a precious, crucial value. But for me, it's more with a kind of context knowledge to go. Maybe I don't want to go so much with the beginner's mind into it, because I felt it was a bit, I don't know, a bit blurry. And then I think when Laurie felt misunderstood, so I would like to have a bit more golden thread in the meeting with a kind of agenda that, of course, we can change following the flow, but that people know where they are, because I felt Laurie, I had the feeling that he was a bit lost and a bit disappointed, because I guess he just had other expectations. And what I would like to bring in is that sometimes the discussion get a bit tense and personal. I felt it last week. I think this is not something that has to be. We are professionals, so we can disagree maybe on the facts, but not from the heart. Yeah. So I think there should be a kind of space, a safe space, where everybody can say what he or she wants to say, and then we look at it. Because I also was not from a technical standpoint, I didn't agree with Laurie, but I think I saw his intention, because he wanted to with AI, using AI, reviewing all. Yeah, if it makes sense, it's a different thing. But yeah, but I think it should be, and like Woody said, maybe write it on a whiteboard. Everybody can look on it, and then we have a base for discussion. So this is what I also wrote in the document an hour before. I'm not sure if we have to do everything in the mob, and there I would like to bring Woody and you, Alex, that you check into the discussion, because sometimes I think some other cooperation techniques could also work. Just having this whiteboard and everybody has to make a statement, and then we're going into deep listening, like Jake said, and to a generative dialogue. I'm not sure if we have to change the keyboard, but I'm not so familiar with mob programming and the mob approach, so I would just open the discussion for this. And I'm not sure how much the other participants are included in our way, in our journey. So sometimes people appear, sometimes not, which is okay, because the people have jobs and appointments and so on. But I'm not sure how much the people are aware of what we're doing here. So I like this concept of Nicholas with his sharing of stuff. Maybe not for the technical and practical sessions, but maybe for the strategy and the high level conception. to give these people also an opportunity to participate in the co-creation and say, okay, I think this is a different thing. So I guess we have a Discord and so on, but I'm not sure how transparent it is and how easy it is to follow when people cannot participate. So I would maybe, I don't feel that these people are involved enough regarding this asynchronous participation. So that they say, okay, I saw your video. Of course, I could see the video, but maybe there is space for improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you have a hand up?
Yeah. So I want to observe a couple things. First of all, teamwork does not replace solo work, and solo work does not replace teamwork. So, when we first started what I used to call mob programming, we went from everybody basically working alone. I was trying to help this team learn about pair programming, but we landed on this session where we had one person who wanted to get feedback from everybody. And so we all got together in a meeting, and instead of just having analysis and talking about what was going on, we actually started working on it, because we had been studying, working together, doing a coding dojo every Friday. So we were studying the new things that they were needing to learn. I was at this company for about 6 months doing that. And then one day we had this code that we needed to look at. Somebody wanted us to look at and make some decisions about, and we started working on it. And within a week from then, we stopped working solo. Over each day, people were more and more just getting together. At the end of a week, we were pretty much full time working as a team all day, every day. But that didn't. So I want to make this super clear. That was the beginning of a good thing. And then we learned something that that really showed us where our real bottlenecks were. And that is that the people who didn't think that they needed to be there all the time, when they weren't there, we were really blocked. And the four main areas were we had different divisions of, departments or core skills. We noticed the testers, the database people, the product owner type people, BAs or whatever, and what we would now call DevOps, the people who are going to deploy things or new up websites or whatever that they would do, or domains and stuff like that. So to get to the point with this is we started now actually seeing where our bottlenecks, and the bottlenecks on the team. If I have a question for Alex and we're working on something and we're sitting a few chairs apart from each other, I can just lean back and say, Alex, I got a question. But when it's a product owner that's in a different building, and there's lots of science to this, by the way, or on a different floor, on a different room, the communication dies. And so what we found was we needed to include those people, and we tried to more and more. The only thing that was within my power was to hire a tester. So I hired a tester for our team, and we started then convincing the database people, the deployment people, and the product people to come spend more time with us. And it was easy enough with the product people because they had the knowledge of what we were trying to make more than anyone else, but they also had more skin in the game of wanting to get this thing done well. And so they were learning that, hey, if I spend time with the team, I get my stuff sooner. And over a matter of a few years, I was there for 4 years, and now that's been 15 years since they started doing this. We include the product people. We expect them to be on the teams. If they want to get their work done, they're on a team. They're a first-class team member. They're a foundational member of the team, as opposed to somebody who's a customer of the team and using the team to accomplish something. So where solo work can be really valuable, the problem is one of the big things I'm addressing a different angle of this now. We learned that the learning is really difficult when we have solo workers, because a solo worker does their work and they're learning something, but they're not going to be very good at explaining it to others. We're just not good at that. And explaining something to someone does not necessarily give them the learning experience that would allow them to really learn it. And this is something we discovered as well. If a team member felt they were getting behind, or they really weren't able to keep up with what the team was doing, they felt they needed to go study. But what we found was if they just stuck with the team and kept riding along, the understanding would come. Now, I'm a pretty good programmer. I have been in the past anyways. And so a lot of the programming stuff I could pick up almost immediately. But some of the people who are newer to programming and were not able to pick up quickly, they were feeling they needed to study after hours, or they needed to go and be alone to study something. And our experience with this was that the learning happened much quicker when we did it as a team. And part of this was they're learning from the example of the others, but they're also learning how to communicate. So we didn't force everyone to navigate. So in this, we have the idea of a driver and a navigator. Everyone's a navigator. Only one person operates the keyboard at any one time. And there's a couple suggestions I'll have here on how we can do that. It's really difficult to rotate the tools that we're using when we're working remotely. If we're all working with it, and I think some of the AIs are going to change this, but we're working with an AI, only one instance is interacting with that AI. So the way that we started changing this to work remotely, when you're not remote, when you're all sitting together, this is easy to do. You've got one machine and one keyboard, or a set of keyboards to make it easy to get to them. And everybody's rotating, but we're using the same box with the same tools. And we usually had with 3 large monitors. Our monitors were 80-inch monitors, so it was a huge bit of monitors. But when we're remote, it's hard to do that rotating of the people. So what we did at Hunter after I left there, but I keep going back to help them, we adopted using AnyDesk. Some of you have probably used AnyDesk. Another tool like that is TeamViewer. Everybody logs into the same server machine that has all our tools on it. And when we do that, anybody can switch. We can switch keyboard at any time. We don't even really need to share the artifacts in a screen sharing, because those artifacts are available on everybody's computer already. We might have other stuff we want to share with the screen sharing. But all the important stuff, like the development tools, the database tools, the AI tools, they're all on that central, in the cloud somewhere. It depends on what your security needs are. Some companies will have a server that's within their security network, a physical server. And a lot of people now are using cloud servers that you can make pretty secure. At least I think you can. I'm not an expert on that stuff. So I just covered a lot of stuff. We can improve what we're doing. And all the AI stuff in the world is not going to fix the problems we have communicating with each other. I don't see that yet. I think it's making it more difficult. People are spending less time together. They're working more solo. And I think that that's going to be highly problematic. We don't know what the future holds. We may be iced out of software development completely by AI. And things are going to go nasty if those kinds of things happen. At least that's I'm guessing. I'm just guessing. I can't predict the future. So there you go. I just wanted to cover some of the things, Ludger, that you were saying so that we can understand. There's nothing wrong with solo work still. I'll finish with one very clear point. I love to program alone. It's like I love to play chess against a chess application where I'm not playing against a human. I'm in my own headspace. I'm trying to figure out how I'm trying to be tricked. I like doing puzzles that way. I like, a lot of stuff I like to do solo. But what I found was the benefits of working as a team, which includes spreading the knowledge, gaining many perspectives, the really rapid expansion of ideas. These things we can't get any other way that I've seen so far. So we need to get good at it before we can make the judgment of whether that's working for us or not. In the early days of pair programming, this happened all the time. People say, well, we tried pair programming. It didn't work for us. Well, you dig in and you find out they tried pair programming for a half a day. That's like saying, I tried to be a concert violinist, but I stopped after the first hour. I just wasn't very good, Well, yeah, it takes a kid who starts at age 6, 15 years to become a really accomplished violinist. A few kids go beyond that sooner, but you get the idea. We're not going to be expert at this till we allow ourselves to have the experience and the time doing it. There we go. But Ludger, I know you got some responses, so I'd love to hear what you got to say.
Thank you, Woody. I just want to, sorry, just before, just two quick remarks. One is what I'm really missing, and I don't know, Woody, if you think it can be replicated from physical mobbing, is the whiteboard. Somebody standing up at the whiteboard next to the driver and messing with the board. That's something that I didn't see replicated online.
So we can emulate that to a degree. So we can talk about that later. My little brother, who's a extremely good programmer, everybody here is extremely brilliant. He is like the top on my list. I can't believe how good he is. He's got a 72-inch monitor that is the whiteboard when he's working with a mob, right there, and he can stand up and draw on it. You know, and he can have it. They could be viewing it electronically, digitally, or they can be viewing it with a camera. And I have a couple digital boards right here where I can be writing, you know, while I'm in the meeting. This one isn't so good when I got shared screens. But anyways, we can work that out. And we could be, you know, there's a lot of people we can talk to who have been doing these things. It's not nearly as good as having. Yeah. But, you know, using a Miro board is a good start. And we can make it more dynamic. But yeah, there he goes. So.
Thank you. Sorry, Ludger, just one more thing. And then there's something about physical three-dimensional world and the body in the physical space, standing next to you, and the way the presenter is moving and drawing, and it really communicates some energy that you just cannot. I mean, maybe I'm sacrificing, but
you're absolutely right. So we as humans, our first form of communication was things besides grunting and making squealing sounds, because there are many of those animals do that, was using images. And what we normally will see is very ancient people painting on cave walls. Well, we can see those because all the other places they would draw, you know, were destroyed. You know, if they draw on the sand, or they draw on some tree bark, or they draw, you know, on a rock that's exposed. I have a feeling they were drawing all the time, but they were also communicating by doing things like, here's a big rock, and we placed a small rock on top of it. This never happens in nature. We know that someone placed that rock there, and they're saying this is the trail and things like that. So humans, another thing is they use sign languages. And, you know, I'm pretty sure my ancestors and your ancestors used to shake their spears at each other. Before they did anything, they'd shake their spear, and that's saying, hey, I'm pretty dangerous, and I can see you're pretty dangerous, so let's not fight. Let's trade some stuff that we want to trade, but, you know, I'll fight if I have to, but let's go ahead. So we had these sign languages. I've been studying this quite a bit lately, and our ancient, each tribe probably had their own version of a language. It wasn't until we started really collaborating across groups that we formalized on what our words mean. But I'll leave this, and I really want to hear what you got to say, Ludger. I can say or I can say or I can say You know, each kind of means a different thing, and communication will always be misinterpreted. It will always be misinterpreted. So
Richard Feynman, the famous physicist, they report the way he was working. He was contorting his body and going, you know, when he was. So it's all physical, actually.
It's a physical thing.
Physical. You know, it's a thing in space that's moving.
Yes.
That is a thought, right? And that's what we are losing. And just before we go to Ludger, one last thing. I agree with you that solo work is is fantastic. What I have objections forever is working in secrecy. There's a difference between working solo and being okay with sharing, frequent commits, etc., and versus going and squirreling away and spending days working in secrecy. That's a big difference. Over to you, Ludger. Sorry about.
Okay, not just that we have a misunderstanding. So I'm a team guy. I'm not so much a solo guy, but actually what Woody said, I did it in the past. So when I thought, oh God, I cannot follow, I studied a lot. But what I want to go in, for me, it's just co-creation, and I don't see I don't have connected to a certain method. I just wanted to share how we work in other co-creation groups. So sometimes we have a bit of homework and solo work, and we bring the results and we share them, and then we go into a generative dialogue, because everybody knows what everybody wants, and then in the generative dialogue, that the statements building on the statement of the previous speaker. So just to say, it's a co-creative thing, and sometimes we're making a kind of reflection work where we have a few journaling questions, and then everybody shares the insights, and then we go again into this generative dialogue. I just wanted to share to have a comparison.
Yes.
So and I would have one question, Moody. When you do the conceptual stuff for the software or the architecture or so on, or the domain model, do you do it also in the team, or is it just the programming itself, the development?
So at the very earliest days of me experimenting with teamwork, and I didn't invent any of the things that we did. I solidified them, the things I learned from others. I found that all the work we do requires a team, and that in most companies we would have an architect. I worked in companies where they'd have 1 or 2 people on an architecture team. There's 200 software developers and there's some architects. And we almost always found that after the architecture is solidified, that's when we start discovering we were all wrong. And it's too late. You know, they're making decisions without. So I don't know any of you know Jim McCarthy, but Jim McCarthy was in charge. He was at Microsoft when they were creating Visual C++. So they're taking C++5 and turning it into Visual C++ in the 90s. And he had 150 developers. And he's talked about it. He's given talks about it. And he said that, you know, he had a couple architects that were just super, super brilliant. But he also had 150 software developers who were super brilliant. And he didn't want to just take advantage of a couple of people's brilliance. He wanted to take advantage of everyone's brilliance. So this is the way that I look at it, is that when we first started working this way, we found that the big benefit of having 5 developers working together was it expanded our ability to design the things much better, but we were still lacking on the other team members. So because we didn't have a product owner, didn't have a tester, we didn't have a database person, we were missing important chunks. And I came to call this whole team. I believe all of the work of software development is better done as a whole team. And we need to learn how to think together. This is the big problem. And this is, this is what I've been focusing on for 15 years now. What did we learn here, and how do I explain it to people? You'll see all these books behind me. These are the ones that I was buying when I still was buying physical books. I have 31 books on teamwork, and some of them told me where I was completely wrong. You know, like one of them, basically, I learned this: you don't have a team of people. You don't need to have a team of people who get along well. They might hate each other, and you still do great things. So, you know, I used to think we all need to learn to get along. And some of the early teams I worked with, that was really true. We accomplished a lot of stuff because we were human with each other and able to hear each other's ideas and try each other's ideas. But the little techniques that I got over the years were, okay, there is no idea we won't try. So as soon as we say that won't work to someone else, we've shut them out. And they may never contribute again. They may contribute very cautiously. So we learn how to use techniques. One of the things we do is called plate spinning with AI. If you're waiting for the AI to do something and we want to be working, we keep that plate spinning over here. You know, plate spinning like in a circus act. And we'll go and we'll start another plate spinning. This is context switching, and I'm not sure if there's a better way around it, but that's one of the things we do. And so if somebody's an architect, that shouldn't be their role. That should be the skills they bring to the team. So most companies, they think of roles, and as soon as you do that, you've got divisions. And when you have the divisions, you have departments. And that just completely destroys communication. So how big of a team can you have? You know, I found somewhere between 5 and 15 or 20 seems to work okay, but it depends on the nature of the work you're doing. Some people have said, you know, there's got to be some limit. I'm a no limits kind of a guy. So I'm covering way too much there, but I know we're running out of time. So I want to be sure we cover those things. We need to be practicing these things and experimenting with them. And if we're getting together one day a week, that's like a kid practicing violin one day a week. Sure, they'll learn a little bit, but they will never become violinists. I worked with a violin maker for a while. He was really brilliant. And I learned how to make violins. I never really made one, but I worked with him. And what I learned from him was a violin is a musical instrument. If you're making violins, you're not doing woodworking. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. Making a violin is not woodworking.
That's true, Woody. I watched, I forget which movie, and on DVD they have movie extras. Remember those days when you can?
Yes.
And in one of the extras, they interviewed a luthier who was making some, Renaissance instruments to be played at the movie. And he explains like the worst luthier in the world is a cabinet maker.
Right.
That's the worst you can assign somebody who is really good with woodwork. And so the secret with good musical instruments such as guitar or violin is you need to assemble those wood pieces so that they're barely together. They have to almost be falling apart. And then they produce beautiful sound. If they're tight, dead sound. There's no character.
Yeah. You know, the violin maker that I worked with told me, I learned a lot from him. He said, you have to be able to take the violin apart again. So like with the guitar, you know, they got binding around it and stuff. It's hard to take a acoustic guitar apart if you need to fix it. But violins are made to take apart. He said part of the building process is you get to the point where you're ready to clamp it up and then you got to play it for a while and you actually glue it together and then you go, I got to shave this off and I've got to, make this thinner. I've got to make that thicker, whatever it is. You can't really make it thicker, but you can replace the back and things like that. So a lot of this, and we're in the same boat here. I think AI is ruining our ability to work well together because people are doing it solo. And I think it'll be a benefit. That's not what this group is about, but that will be a benefit if we can help people learn how to do it. But there's other techniques. The plate spinning was one example. There's other way, and we can learn them. I know a couple people we can turn to ask what they're doing, and they'll help us. They're doing full-on mob programming with AI every day with groups of 3, 5, 10 people.
But yeah, I mean, that reminds me of like what you were saying, Woody. A team should be loosely coupled.
Yes.
Same as a musical instrument. So that it's barely hanging together, and because of this kind of loose flow of information,
I'm on board with that.
It flows rather than being tight and like there's a ringmaster and whipping the ponies harder, and that's not.
So I propose, we have a session where we look at our guidelines of our team agreement. We came up with our own guidelines very early on at Hunter. And one of them was, anytime you want to go work on something alone, you just do it. You just need to let the team know. I'm going to check out for a while. I want to go do some experiments. We would quarantine, so to speak, and then come back together. That was another technique we used, and James Herrick's given that a name. We're all saying, God, we don't know where to go with this. Everybody splits off. Everybody works alone for a while, and we bring that all back together. Sometimes 1 or 2 people would go out to Google, and they'd start feeding us with links that the rest of the team would then look at, so that we're focusing on. So there's lots of techniques like that. So whatever we think is mob programming it's going to be different in our group. It will be what we discover works for us. My only rule is there are no rules. Yeah. The closest thing to a high-level guideline is the team will figure it out. Yeah. I tell managers this all the time. You don't need to manage the team. You need to liberate the team. You need to free them from your thinking, because your thinking is wrong. You're thinking from a manager point of view, not a doer or maker point of view. Yeah. Manager point of view is very harmful to actually getting things done.
I agree. And to your point on the frequency of meeting and working together, a couple of years ago, I lucked out and I came across a phenomenal steel string acoustic guitar, Yamaha. And one of these, sometimes you bump into and just the sound is insane.
It wasn't an FG 180, was it?
I don't even know what model it is. It's just like,
Well, those FG 180s were cheap but really good guitars.
I got it for $200 off the guy's hands. Just insane. Like I had some really high end like Larry Way and Martins, and not even close. But then because I was moving houses and I was mostly playing my electric, yesterday I pulled it out and the sound is not there anymore. You have to play it.
Yeah.
You have to. If you don't play it, it just kind of clamps.
Now, I don't know the science of that, but I've heard that as well.
Yeah, I wasn't playing it, and I was heartbroken yesterday. Like, what is this beautiful sound? And I realized I haven't touched it in 2 years. Go ahead, Jake.
Put it in a humidifier. It's dried out.
Maybe.
It's dried out.
I worked for a short time with Taylor Guitars. They're a guitar maker here in the San Diego area. I knew the kid when he was a high schooler. And I was working at Stelling Banjo Works, which was a manufacturer of banjos. And he would come in there all the time and hang out with them, learning the trade of making guitars. And then he went on and opened his own shop. I never worked with him making guitars, but I took his guitars up and down the coast all the way up to San Francisco. Between me and San Francisco is 500 miles of little guitar shops and stuff. And I would take the guitars and show them to people and stuff. They make a marvelous guitar. I only own one of his guitars. I got one Martin, but it's not my best. I had one kicking D18 way back in the day that was unbelievable. I think it was a 54. It wasn't pre-war. Pre-war were the best, but still 54 is like the year after I was born. That's a good age right in there. It's like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Woody Zool, that age. And so anyway, guys, I gotta go. I don't know if we'll have enough time to do the kinds of things I'd like to see here. I'm right now seeking some kind of work, and I may need to drop out of these if that happens. Because I'm kind of getting to the point where I either have to keep just doing what I'm doing or start making some money again. I don't mind doing what I'm doing, but got to find a way to make a living.
Sure.
So,
Woody, you're the man, buddy.
I'm one of four here, but
Well, no, I know. We're all
You-
three of y'all are good people. So
I love
whatever
this.
happens is going to happen. The team will take care of itself. That's what I'm saying.
The team will take care of itself, and I'll always be available for meetups and getting together.
Yeah,
So-
and the reason why you know that is because all four of us believe in zero debt. We're not passing any debt forward. We're going to take care of whatever it is there's nothing. Do it, complete it, make sure it's good, then move on.
And move on.
And so you do that, then you got half the game beat.
I'll see you all guys next time. I would love to do a session where we look at our working agreement and make some little tweaks to it.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye. Have a good time.